Welcome back to the Chicago Tomahawk. I'm Mike, and I got my line mate Matt with me. And today we're going to go over some Blackhawks news, go over some NHL news, and I want to talk about the top 3 from 2010 players because that's been a hot topic on social media, and me and Matt are going to get into it. So, first things first, Rocky Wirtz passed away at the age of 70. He was someone who brought in a new era for the Blackhawks after Dollar Bill died. I think his brother Peter was actually the one who was supposed to take over, and he didn't want it, and so he essentially let Rocky, take it over. And Rocky, being the businessman that he was the first thing that he did was put Blackhawks home games on TV, which was awesome because at the time you couldn't watch Blackhawks home games on TV. So he did that. He got an executive team together of people who can run the organization, and he essentially sat back and jumped in whenever he needed to, but he was pretty hands off. And to be honest with you, that's really kind of what you want out of an owner. He's signing the checks and he's got somebody under him who's giving him information, but he's not running day-to-day things. When you've got somebody like, say, kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, where you've got the guy who owns the team is also the GM, and he's got his finger in everything. I think that it leads to there isn't a chance for accountability and an opportunity to have truly gifted people run your organization. And he did the right thing. He got a business guy to run everything, and we won 3 Stanley Cups because of it. There are some things that happened that are that happened as well, but those were taken care of. But he mostly did really good things for the Blackhawks, bringing them into prominence, back into prominence in the Chicagoland area. And he also did a lot of things for the community, giving back and having a lot of charitable donations. So, Matt, what was your first thoughts when Dollar Bill died and you heard that Rocky was going to be taking over?
Well, like you said, Peter was supposed to take over, and I was really into the Hawks back then, even with Dollar Bill still in charge. And I heard Peter was like his dad, just as worse, even like not gonna budge on anything, not going to put home games on. And once we found out about Rocky, it was like, man, who is this guy? He came out of nowhere, And first thing he does, he puts the home games on, which is something that I think you lost a whole generation of fans because of that. Like,
yeah,
kind of people close to our age, like probably in their late 30s now and early 40s. But a lot of these, like, I have some friends that never watched hockey before. Like, they didn't even like, oh yeah, the Blackhawks. Yeah, we couldn't name one player, And when Rocky did that, you grabbed all these new kids watching it on TV, and then you probably even helped the hockey growth in youth hockey in this area grow.
Yeah.
And that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but when you had good players too, and you want to watch these guys. You don't want to listen on the radio because it's not 1940. You want to watch them on TV, and
Right.
then he brings Pat Foley back, which is another, great thing to do. The guy was the voice of the Blackhawks, and Bill and him had a disagreement 2 years before, and we had just some regular guy. And getting Pat Foley back, you're bringing back the guys that used to be diehards going into the stadium and the UC when Foley used to be on TV and radio. That's how big he was. And that was 2 good things he started with, and then he says he's going to spend money. He's like, my goal is to get a Stanley Cup. I've never once heard Bill Wirtz say that, ever. And I know I was young, and I'm sure my dad would say too, that guy doesn't care to win. He just is just an owner, and he wants to, make as much money as he can off the Blackhawk logo and stuff. And Rocky was different. He a complete different direction, and he hired a good management team. I think keeping Dale Talon was huge because Dale finally got, he's got the keys to the car now. Like, hey, do everything you can to get us a win. And he did. He brought in, great players. He signed Marian Hossa. He signed Campbell the year before,
or just to start out. I mean, he signed Havlat, and
he traded Havlat. He traded for Havlat for a guy who scored 20 goals here, Mark Bell. And everybody, was like, "Oh man, Marty Havlat."
He was kind of a fan favorite, though. Well, even in that those dark times, him and Kyle Calder and Tyler Arneson, they were, they were kind of like our, I guess you could say, stars at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that was like our young. These are our future guys, and obviously on a different team, they're third line guys, if that, and getting that Havlat. Getting Havlat in the trade, you got like a really dynamic, explosive player. This guy was, scoring some every time I felt like every goal was like a highlight reel. He did something crazy before it, or he's deeks and stuff. But getting off track, I mean that was the start of everything. And giving Dale that power to get that first Stanley Cup, he brought in Andrew Ladd for Tuomo Ruutu. Ruutu was supposed to be our guy too, another young up and coming guy, and Andrew Ladd was a Stanley Cup champion when he was a rookie. So you brought in that experience, but like this was stuff that you didn't see with Bill Wirtz. You didn't see like these trades, and you didn't see free agents wanting to come here, unless they were on their last couple of years of their career, like Doug Gilmour. Remember back in the day,
I was so happy when he signed, man.
I love Dougie Gilmour, but when I read the story of the original plan, I don't know if you know this, but the original free agent signing the Hawks were trying to get was Brett Hull. And Brett Hull's even talked about this, and Bobby got involved too. Bobby wanted to bring his son and kind of make it like a big thing. Like Bobby wanted to be like his ambassador type of role that he had.
Yeah.
And he wanted to bring in the Golden Brett. And they were, there was talks and stuff. It was looked like it was going to happen, and that would have been awesome because Brett Hull is a freaking legend, dude.
He was.
And I think if they, in the end, I think Bill's ego got in the way, and he didn't want Bobby involved. Those two never got along, always button heads, and they ended up getting Dougie Gilmour. And it's like, come on, man, we're getting a guy that he was good with the Maple Leafs all those years, and slowly just, he's not as good as he was, but it would have been awesome to get him. But Rocky was different. Imagine that? We were bringing in Marian Hossa, Brian Campbell, and we're getting guys that wanted to play here, and that's what Rocky brought back. He made Chicago a destination town to play hockey.
Right. Yeah. Kind of further about Doug Gilmour. He got the C, didn't he?
Dougie Gilmour instantly got the C, correct.
Yeah. I just wanted to. I want to make sure I remembered that correctly.
Yep, number 93 with the C, and his only Hawk highlight was fighting Joe Sakic. That's all I can remember.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Doug Gilmour wasn't a joke. Let me look at his stats really quick.
You know what? He used to kill the Hawks in the playoffs and all those.
Yeah, he did.
What was the division? Was it the Norris division? The playoffs they always had, and I remember just watching Doug Gilmour get like 4 assists against the Hawks every game, and this guy was just dishing out great passes. Good hockey player, man.
Yeah, he had 964 assists in his career.
Yeah. So that guy could definitely play.
450 goals.
But we got him when he was a little bit older, banged up, and I think in the end I'd rather have Brett Hull. I think it would be really cool to, your dad's a legend in Chicago, the Golden Jet, and then you bring in your son who's also becoming a legend. It would have been awesome, dude. Brett Hull.
Wow. I don't remember Doug Gilmour played for St. Louis.
He did, and he started with Calgary, I believe.
No, he started with St. Louis, and then he went to Calgary.
And then he ended up going, okay, you're right.
He did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons in St. Louis.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 in Calgary.
He won the Cup in Calgary.
He did one.
I believe it was 89,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yeah, he was there in 89. Theo Fleury was on that team too, wasn't he?
Mike Vernon in net.
2.
Yep.
I think he was a rookie, wasn't he?
He might have been. I know Mike Vernon was younger too. I think he was, because then Vernon went with the Red Wings and did his damage there against us. I just remember those games. Good duels with him and Eddie Belfour.
Wow, 6 years in Toronto. It seemed like he was with Toronto the whole time, though.
Yeah.
Well, probably because that was 91, 92 when he went to Toronto, and I was 9 at the time, and that's when I started watching.
He's royalty.
So
there,
I never.
Man. Yeah, he's still.
I'm sure. Yeah. 2 years with the Devils, 2 years with the Hawks, 2 years with Buffalo, 2 years with Montreal, then back to Toronto for 1 game.
Yeah. You kind of forgot about him after he left the Hawks. I mean, I didn't really follow him that much after.
Yeah. Oh man, Dougie Gilmour, man. So, you know what? Social media. One of the cool things about it is being able to, kind of talk to people, talk to like-minded fans. But then there's always the others that kind of ruin it for everybody. Kind of like that kid at school where everyone's good in class, and then there's that one kid that's bad, and it's like, okay, now we can't, have popcorn and watch a movie, or have a pizza day or something like that, Yeah. So, after Rocky passed, there's been a lot of people that have said some pretty brutal things. I guess it's okay to piss on a man's grave, these days, but it's pretty looked down upon, man. It kind of seems like there's some people trying to virtue signal and say, make a few comments. But there's been a lot of people, man, that have come to have his back and say, hey, like the guy just passed, can we let it breathe a little bit for a second? Do you think that, from what I've noticed, there's largely just a few people that are kind of ruining it for people? Do you think that it's a larger base of people, or do you think it's just a few? A few that kind of just rile up, like some other people.
It's people that aren't Blackhawks fans that are,
or just fans in general.
They're definitely hockey fans, but like you said, they're like the almighty. They live their perfect lives and like to comment on Twitter. And I had to deal with it quite a bit. I try to give Rocky a nice post, and I got more positivity
on X.
Yeah,
on X, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I got him a lot of positivity. There was some negativity, and it's all the same. And then you go and look at their timeline, and then you'll see like Canuck stuff. Okay, so they don't like the Hawks #1 because we used to just beat the shit out of them in the dynasty runs. And then you look at St. Louis people, which they don't like Chicago people anyway. Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Then you got your Hawks beat writers. A lot of them. I would say most of them would say, hey, rest in peace, Rocky, and then they'd follow it by a dig. Like, okay, bud, you're making money off covering this team. What if he just shut the team down and got rid of it? You're jobless. So,
right.
And a lot of them, I don't want to get political, but they have their certain ways of thinking, and they have to, keep their image going, I guess you could say, and keep their followers on Twitter happy. And a lot of them won't tell the truth, and they'll just say what the cool thing is. And obviously 670 the score, I'm not afraid to call that shit out, because those guys are ridiculous. I felt like instantly when you heard he died, they didn't say anything positive. It was just all negativity. So there's a reason why no one listens to that crap anymore. But then you got you podcast people like us. I feel like I know a couple Blackhawks podcasts that were pretty, they left some nice messages saying, thank you, Rocky, for bringing, the Blackhawks back from the dead, which he did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think they're closer to our age, so they understand, like, the UC had like 6,000 people most nights with Bill at the end before he died. And then it instantly was a turnaround. Like, you couldn't even get standing room with Rocky. So that was fun. And you know what else was fun? Making the playoffs again. Going to a playoff game. It was since 2002, I think, was Bill Wirtz' last playoff year. And then till 2009. That's a lot of hockey, man, in between not making the playoffs. So credit Rocky with that. And then you got your other podcasts and you got your Atlantic writers. I'm not going to name any names, but most people know that they have to let everybody know that the Hawks were in a sexual allegation scandal or whatever, and everything. And that's Twitter too. anytime there's a Blackhawks story that comes out, the Blackhawks just were awarded the first round pick or first overall pick. Kyle Beach. And then the Hawks just signed so-and-so, or they made a trade for Taylor Hall. Oh, yeah, but he's going to go play for that team that they... Okay, these are the people that are just, they're just angry. And, the best thing to do is ignore them, but it's pretty hard for me sometimes. But, just...
they get you
it
going.
It does. It's like, come on, dude. Like... There's scandals all the time that you don't even hear about, and these people are probably doing stuff that they act like they're so perfect, and they just like to make themselves feel better about it by tweeting about it. But there's a lot on Twitter. You call it, what did they change the name to Twitter or something?
It's called X now.
It's called X. Okay, so on X, yeah. But man, it's getting old. But now, since Rocky's gone, no more Kane and Taves. There is, a
complete change,
it's a
man.
New era. Like it's wiped out clean now. There isn't.
I would say they gone to extreme lengths if this was the plan.
Well, yes, Kane and Taves gone. You got Sharpie was in the booth. He's gone. I don't see anybody from 2010 anymore, unless. You know what? I was going to say Andrew Shaw, but he was not there yet. He was there in 2013. So, there is literally nothing left of that era. And these people just have to move on from this. And, we got to obviously move on, meaning like not forget about it, but just remember, like, they have to be better in the office. They have to handle stuff differently if that ever happens again. But still, it's like, okay, people, we're gonna start in the Connor Bedard era here, and that's what we're gonna talk about. We're moving forward. And poor Rocky, at that town hall, he was not good.
Oh man,
it was bad for him. He could have handled that a lot better, and I'm sure sitting down with his son after it, he's probably thinking, I screwed up, But
yeah,
it's frustrating.
I would imagine
it is. It's frustrating.
I would imagine Danny told him, like, hey, look, Dad. You name me the CEO, know, I'm in charge, like you can't be coming out here doing this kind of stuff, man. We're trying to turn over a new leaf, and you come out and say things like this, and it looked completely unapologetic. Yeah.
We're coming out of the hole and we're falling 20 feet deeper,
Well, what really sucked because, it really sucked because Danny and I forget her name.
Jamie something?
Jamie Faulkner. Yeah. They've been working so hard, man, to change things at the Blackhawks from the executive level down. And I thought that they were doing a really good job. Like, you could see that they were making changes and turning over a new leaf and trying to make things right, going forward. The thing is that I think people sometimes they want to hold the new regime to the old regime sins, and I don't think that that's right. But they were making these changes, and then Rocky came out and said what he said, and it
was going back really bad. Going back to your comment about the Dallas Cowboys, like, okay, you're the owner and the GM. It's like, so you're going to get a whole bunch of yes men. No one's going to stand up to you because they're going to lose their jobs. And I like that Rocky. He did that. Like, here, you guys deal with it. I don't know anything about hockey. I'm a Wirtz beverage guy.
Fan.
I got the funding, I got the money. You guys do this, and that's what I liked about him. But when he kind of did his thing at the town hall, it's like, it's like you kind of sounded like that guy, like, I'm in charge. Like you did that. And you know what? He apologized. Stuff happens. He apologized to the writer was who asked the question, and I don't think it really mattered. I think that guy has an agenda, that writer, and
he didn't that day though, and that was the thing, that he didn't really ask a question that was, completely out of out of the right wing. Typically, sometimes he does, but at that point he didn't. I
think Rocky had the understanding of, hey, we're talking hockey. We're not. Right. That guy wants a story.
Right.
And, unfortunately he can't get a job at CNN, so it's going to be tough for him. So he's got to talk that way. But yeah,
Sure.
but I'm very thankful for, Rocky and his time as an owner, man. Like I said, I never thought we'd see one Stanley Cup. We were in a 48-year drought, I think, when he took over. It took him, maybe it took 3. Maybe it was a 47-year drought at the time when he took over. But we won our first Stanley Cup in 49 years. Kaner buried it against Michael Leighton in Philly. I never thought I'd see a Stanley Cup, and we were lucky enough to get 2 more after that. And you got to credit Rocky because it's got to start at the top too, because he's funding all this.
Got to pay the checks
and just great management, and it was awesome.
So before we close out this Blackhawks segment, I got to let everybody know that new customers can make just $5. Can make a $5 bet and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/hockey terms. Now, Matt, Danny is expected to take over. So does sole ownership of the Blackhawks go to Danny?
I think it's the Wirtz family that still owns the team. I'm not sure what happened when Bill died, because I think I'm sorry. What was Peter? Wasn't Peter?
Yeah.
I think
he handed it over.
I think he still has I'm sure he has a percentage. It's his son, I'm
like a vote or something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a board or whatever, but I think Danny is taking over. Yes, he is the guy. His name is the owner right now. So, but I'm sure obviously he's got to share it with his uncles and brothers and stuff like that. But I'm happy with Danny. I really liked what I've seen from Danny, and I think he's younger, and he's I'm not saying Rocky was old, but I think Danny is kind of I don't have a good phrase. He
knows what it's like to grow up in the age of social media and how important
he's not he's hip and upcoming. He understands the new fans, and he's still old enough to know how to make the older fans happy. And I think he's a good speaker too. And
he is.
He seems to be the
genuine
players kind of owner. I could see him having a good relationship with his players and stuff. And,
right.
Bill obviously did not. And Rocky, I think Taves and Kane had some great things to say about him. And I think Marion Hossa said nice things about him in that jersey retirement. He said Rocky was a great owner and, always, just looking out for his guys and stuff like that. And but I'm excited for Danny to take over, man. And at first I wasn't pleased with his GM choice, but Kyle Davidson, man, I think he is a great GM so far. He's doing a good job with the draft, and that's very important when you're, rebuilding a team. You got to draft well, and I didn't think that this kid was going to be a good GM, but he's proven me wrong, and I'm here to admit that, I was wrong about it. I was kind of looking for a more experienced guy, and I think Danny made the right choice in hiring him.
Yeah, there comes a point, like we've talked about in the past, where you have to let go, of new people have to come in at some point. And that's kind of why I wanted to give Kaladin a shot, because there's always the carousel of the same head coaches going team to team and having the same results, and you need to bring new people in. Luke Richardson was another example of them looking to bring in, he had some experience with Montreal, obviously as an assistant coach, but bringing in a new head coach to get his opportunity. I like that. Kyle Davidson, they went in a different direction, bringing somebody that was young who has been in the Hawks organization for a long time and giving him his opportunity. To be honest with you, man, he didn't have an easy job. He was the interim GM. He was put in a really bad position. And I'll be honest, man, he's coming out smelling like roses.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's obviously he's made some questionable trades, Davidson, but they've paid off every single one of them so far.
Yeah.
And it's not easy having the interim tag next to your title. And that Hagel trade, everyone was upset. Like everybody liked Brandon Hagel. I did. He was probably the fan favorite at the time. The new up and coming guy, and you know what? He got 2 first-round picks for him, and this kid was a 5th-round pick overall, and that's insane. And we got 2 NHL players with it. So that was a
Taylor Radish and Boris Tkachuk,
very good trade. And then we found out who we got. We got Oliver Moore because of it, the best skater in the draft. Stud. So it's been he's done a good job. Obviously, he very lucky to get the first overall pick. It was a no-brainer, Connor Bedard. But now the real work's going to, it's beginning for him. He's got I got a generational talent. I have to make sure that this kid wants to stay here forever. And I have to put a team around him, and that's not easy. Dale Talon did a great job with it. And I think so far with the draft picks he's made, I think he's almost it could almost look the same, just different names. You got your Kyle Korchinski is like maybe your Duncan Keith. Your Nolan Allen is maybe your Brent Seabrook, and he's got this Nazar. And this kid could be like your Sharpie, Connor Bedard, your Patrick Kane, Oliver Moore. Maybe he's gonna
hopefully Connor Bedard is his own Connor Bedard.
Connor Bedard's going to be
something
Gretzky
more.
Jr. Yeah.
So how do you feel about just lastly, Danny? They separated owner, and then instead of having the way that they had their old executive structure, there was a president, and everything kind of the business and hockey and hockey operations went through him. After they got rid of John McDonough, they essentially had Jimmy Faulkner doing the business operations and Danny kind of like the head of hockey operations. So you kind of have a 2-headed monster now. Now that he's going to be taking on the owner role, are they going to bring in a new CEO? Because that would change the dynamic between him and Jimmy Faulkner, because as of right now, they're essentially co-heads, right? With him being the owner, now he's going to be signing the checks and taking on the CEO role. Is he going to be leaving that CEO role and just taking on that owner role? Because that changes the relationship with him and Jamie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like maybe about a year ago, we were talking about this with Pittsburgh. Remember that they brought in Brian Burke? He was a good hockey-minded guy, and then he's like, I'm going to do this, the hockey ops. And then I got my GM below me, which was Ron Hextall. And I've always said that, since Danny was doing that, now that he's moving up, you might want to get another hockey-minded guy up there. Like a guy who's been around, maybe a former player, former coach, just to, I think it would really help Kyle Davidson. And Kyle Davidson, let him focus on, trades and signing guys and stuff like that. But it's nice to have another guy to turn to. Like, it would be a great role at this. And I know it's probably going to never happen, but it would be Eddie Olczyk. That guy is a hockey genius. And
he is, man, but he gets stuck in like what he puts blinders on. Because he's mentioned a couple times about what he would do to sign certain players, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he's got different ideas, but he honestly, dude, he knows almost everything about the player he's talking about. Like, he's so educated on that, and
he does.
And as weird as Pierre Maguire is, he's kind of a weird dude, but he's another guy like that. And
he is, man, but he didn't last a year in Ottawa.
No, he didn't. It didn't work out. But that's going to be a tough franchise to play for and to manage.
How about Gretzky, dude?
Gretzky would be awesome, but I don't think Gretzky wants anything to do with that. I think he loves his gig right now with TNT and, being an ambassador to Edmonton and, just...
We could tell him, we can pay you, man.
Just the game, yeah. I mean, somebody like that I would like. Like, maybe a former Blackhawk would be awesome. Like a Chris Chelios.
He seems to have he seems to have such a solid head on his shoulders, man. When you hear him talk on TNT,
oh, yeah.
Like he has like a very like I can understand why he was a captain everywhere that he went.
You can't rattle him. They try to gang up on him, and he's just like, yeah. Anyway, yeah. You could take my
he's
goals
got like
away.
ice running through his veins.
You could take my
man.
goals away in 7 years of my points, and I still have more points than you, Biz. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
Actually, probably 19 years.
Oh my gosh, man. No, he seems to like a good candidate. Someone that I think that someone who could do well. Even what he did with Phoenix when they couldn't pay him, how he was willing to work out a deal where, they pay him later, over a long extended period of time. He easily could have been like, no, it could have been like out of
that just did not
Goodfellas,
work out.
like Goodfellas when he's like, oh, you're having a bad day, fuck you, pay me.
That was bad. Like that, I called him Grumpy Gretzky in that period. Like I just felt like, dude, he
wasn't getting paid.
He was just like aggravated. He's like scratching Jeremy Roenick, and Roenick was getting pissed. Like, you brought me here to play, you're scratching me. Roenick goes to the bar. He leaves the room. Gretzky's like, come on, you're a pro. He's like, well, don't scratch me then, But I just feel like, it was. It wasn't a good time there for him, but TNT, he's great, man. He's just a good ambassador to hockey. Like he should honestly just work for the NHL. Send him wherever you need him to go and pay him because people want to be around him. He's just an awesome guy.
Yeah, he is. But I guess we can come back to that another time on who could possibly take over that. Maybe we should talk about it now, man. Because things are changing. We need some
candidates and then debating it. I like what some of these like last year with the GM positions. They kind of said, "Hey, we're interviewing people. You got a list of guys, and you look their stuff up, and it's like, wow, this guy's been around and he's done some good things." And right. I think that'd be pretty cool. They should definitely have a guy, be the president and do all the other stuff. And just because remember Stan Bowman was doing almost everything, and I think that's when it got out of control.
Yeah, it got out of control because there weren't any checks and balances in a way. And as a matter of fact, that's kind of similar to what happens in with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
There's no checks and balances there. With the owner, GM, and with Stan, taking on the GM, the vice president. President of hockey operations, type of a thing. Man. There was, there is, and
you're gonna mess up because you're doing too much.
But then at the same time, you can't have a guy like, say, like Brendan Shanahan in Toronto, because they were saying that there's reports coming out that he wasn't letting Dubas cook. He was essentially like, no, I don't want you to make that trade, or no, I don't want to sign that guy, type of a thing, not letting the GM do his job.
That's crazy.
In a way.
I mean, I don't get that. Kyle Dubas,
I don't either.
Took a lot of heat, but if you look at his work at the deadline last year, he did everything he could to help this team win a cup.
No reason they shouldn't have won.
I mean, yes, it's hard to pay all these guys. We've seen it with our dynasty teams. And he's got to pay them still. He's got to pay his top guys. That's how it is in life. And I know that Tavares maybe he's going to regret that one. But for them to bring in the top free agent at the time, pretty much a top 10 player in the league at the time, that was huge for him.
Yeah.
But it's the other stuff. Like this guy, he brought in really good players at the deadline. And he's like, guys, this is it. This window is going to close. I'm bringing the best guys, I got to pull some freaking trades. I'm giving up draft picks to get these guys and salary retaining, and it's not easy. You got to go out and win. I mean, for Shanahan to, kind of throw him out to the curb, I guess, that ain't right. I think he should go too. And Dubas got a job right away with Pittsburgh. Obviously, Pittsburgh really liked what he did there, and it's not just the contracts,
Well, probably because if he would have done that for Sidney Crosby, they would have made the playoffs.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, he's got a tough job though in Pittsburgh now because these guys they're not going to be playing forever. They got maybe less than 2-3 years,
no.
so he's got to start thinking. I got to get younger. I gotta draft. Well, I think Pittsburgh's going to be like a bottom team the next 2-3 years. And
after 3 years,
I think so. I mean, Sid's great. He's still dynamic and stuff, but he's going to be older, dude. And they got to start thinking like the Hawks were very late on doing this. This whole go for it again was fun to keep people interested. Like bringing in Seth Jones and Marc-Andre Fleury, getting Tyler Johnson. I mean, yeah, it was cool. We're gonna try to make the playoffs, but dude, we weren't even close, And
right.
There's got to be a time where, like Kyle said, we gotta clean house, and I think we're gonna see that with Pittsburgh very soon.
Oh man, really, really interesting, man. So on to some NHL news. Vladimir Tarasenko signed a 1-year, $5 million contract with the Ottawa Senators. I heard that Florida was also involved in trying to get him too.
Carolina too.
And so is Carolina, yeah. But he wanted to go to Ottawa for some reason. Not sure why.
I don't know. He's obviously you're not going to win anything.
Maybe it was that year in New York. He's like, you know what? This isn't all it's cracked up to be. I've already won my cup.
True.
I'm getting more money out here in Ottawa, so let's just take it from there.
Yeah, that was a head scratcher. Maybe he's trying to get traded at the deadline type of thing again. Maybe that's his strategy. Maybe if I put in like 25, 30 goals at the deadline, I can get moved over. But with that cast, I don't see it happening. If it does happen, good for him. But man, losing to Brinkat was a blow, and I just don't see what the point of it for either party is for him and the Senators. I think I would have stayed clear of that.
Carolina Hurricanes signed Sebastian Aho to an 8-year contract extension worth $78 million. So what is that? 9.5 a year?
Yeah,
something like that. Trying to do the math in my head really
about
quick.
9.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
guess.
The silence is like what I'm thinking too. Like, he's good. He's a good player. 36 goals last year, 31 assists.
Honestly, man, that is the state of where the Carolina Hurricanes are, though. Is that they're not that team that's got that one guy that's going to take them over the hump, because I don't think Sebastian Aho is going to do that. I think because he would have done that already.
Yeah, he's got good numbers. He's got in 520 games, he's got 468 points. He's a plus 80. He's a good finish player. He's him and Teuvo Teravainen. They kind of gel nice and.
But they're not. Toivo's not putting up. He's not putting up points.
No, Teuvo is not Sebastian Aho. Aho is 26 years old. He's young. $9.5 million. I think it's honestly, dude. I think that's what the Brinkat should have got. He's only getting like 7. So
yeah,
and I know it's different. It's a different different club and everything. And I think. He's been around Carolina for a while. Maybe they're paying him a little bit more because they like what he's done in the past. But man,
he hasn't scored 40 goals once.
67 points. His career high was 81. So that's a point a game guy. That was in 2022, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no, 83 points in 2018. So that was his first 30 goal season. So I guess that's fair, man. The price, he's okay. Like you said, he's not, like the Matthew Tkachuk or Connor McDavid and the Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner type of guy that is like the stud. But it works for them, though. They put a solid 4 lines out and 2 decent goalies and pretty good defensive core. It works, but I still think they're missing that flashy 50 goal guy. And you know what? Some teams don't need it. Like look at Vegas. They willed with their depth and 28 goalies they used during the season, but like I was,
and Aiden Hill came out on top.
Yeah, they came out on top. I think if Carolina got Connor Hellebuck, I think it'd be a lot different. They'd be very scary, and I'd probably pick them to win the cup. But they're going with Freddie Anderson and Antti Raanta again, and they're comfortable with it. So I mean, their coach likes it, Rod Brindamore. In Rod we trust, I guess, over there, and they're gonna try again.
So mentioning Connor Hellebuck, why don't you go down to your top 10 goalies or your top 14 goalies here?
Oh, okay. So yeah, for me, it's still Vasilevsky. He's number 1.
Okay.
I got. This one was tough for me. I still think Connor Hellebuck.
Just do top 5.
Yeah,
Just do top 5.
I think Connor Hellebuck would be my number 2. Igor Shesterkin. Obviously, Ranger fans are gonna freak out that he's not number 1, but I'm sorry, he just hasn't shown me much. He's good, yes, makes some good saves, but I think he tends to choke a little bit in the playoffs. But Connor Hellebuck has never been that far. But I just think Connor is a better goalie overall. So I got Vasi, Hellebuck, Shesterkin, and I got Jake Ottinger at 4. I think Dallas has they got a gem in net, man. I think this kid's going to be really good. And I'm going to give number 5 to Ilya Sorokin with the Islanders because his numbers are pretty consistent. He's a good goalie, another Russian guy. And I just think he's very close with Shesterkin. I know those guys are like buddies. They're on rival teams in New York. It's crazy, but I think those 5 guys are probably the best goalies in the league right now. You know, you got some really good goalies, and I left out, but I just think these guys are the guys that stand out to me, and they're probably going to, I think they're going to make the most noise during the season.
I've got Andrei Vasilevsky as number 1. I don't think that there's anybody a healthy, rested Andrei Vasilevsky. I don't think that there's a better netminder in the league right now. Number 2, I'm going to go with Shesterkin, and I'm going to say that because of how good he is on the Rangers. The Rangers, I think, are really good posers. But if you were to take Shesterkin away, they would be a below middle of the pack team. With Shesterkin, they are what a lot of people would say are contending for a Stanley Cup. I think that he's that good. So I think all of their hopes rest on him. Yeah. If they can score goals, I think that he can get them.
To interrupt you here, I'm sorry, but I think they overwork him. And bringing in Jonathan Quick, I think is going to benefit him even more. Shesterkin.
Sure. Right. Yeah, because they need him to play. They need him to play his best every single game in order for them to win. That's the thing.
He's the type of goalie.
And I think I think that's what the problem is that if you look at, say, for instance, Tampa with Vazzy, if he's not in net, they are still a really tough team to play. The really hard team to play against. If you take Shesterkin off of New York, they're not a hard team to play against. That you can score on them, but you're gonna have Jacob Trouba coming, looking to start headhunting guys after you're down 3 games, and that could change the game. But that's a difference, and that's how good Igor Shesterkin is. So he's my number 2. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Connor Hellebuck. He made the Winnipeg Jets a playoff team, so that speaks for itself. Number 4, I'm gonna go with UC Saros. I think the guy is an absolute animal. He's the only reason that a team like the Predators that are defense first win. And I think that he's a huge difference maker there. At number 5, I'm going to go with Eli Sorokin, another guy who does essentially the same job as Saros. They're not an incredibly great offensive team, but he keeps them in it because he's so good on the back end.
Yeah, they've been so lucky, dude. Thomas Vokoun, Pekka Rinne, now freaking Saros. It's like, oh my, how do you guys do this? Every decade you get a good goalie, a top 5 goalie.
Yeah. Every time, man. I mean, the guy stands on his head. He's another example of just like Shesterkin, he's overworked over there for the Predators.
If you look at the numbers, man, Connor Hellebuck had 64 starts and Saros 64 starts. And it's incredible that 37 wins for Hellebuck.
Ottinger 61.
And that's a lot.
Georgiev 62. Vazzy 60.
Yeah.
Binnington 60.
That's insane to me. Binnington getting that many starts. And he can't take it. He couldn't handle it. Look, his numbers were terrible.
Yeah.
I feel like he was getting pulled once a week.
Yeah. I think
and then when he would get pulled, he'd throw a freaking tantrum, and that was the
Cussing
story.
People out.
That was the whole story.
Yeah. Yeah. Cussing people out. All right. So lastly, man, I want to top on the top 3 players from the 2010s. It was a post I saw on social media, and the number 1, they had Sidney Crosby. Man, he was absolutely incredible. Number 2, they had number 2, Ovechkin. Yes, he was incredible. Nobody scored more goals than Ovi, right? But number 3 is very tricky, and that's where the debate starts, because a lot of people were saying that, Malkin should be there. But in the post, they said that it should be Patrick Kane. And thinking about it, man, I highly agree. Nobody has more points than Patrick Kane between 2010 and 2020. And which was a stat that I had to look at it. I was like, wow, I had no idea that. I mean, I knew that Kaner put up all of those points, but I didn't know that he had more points than Sidney Crosby and more than Sid, I should say. So I don't want to bring in the what if Sidney didn't miss those, that season and a half because of his concussion. I'm like, no, it's how much you played. You were healthy to play. Same thing with Malkin. He started, getting the injury bug, and did not play. And then he would kind of have on and off seasons. He would have a season where he'd have 100 points, and then another season he's hurt. Then another season where he's got 100 points, another season where he's hurt, for an extended period of time. Kaner was, let me look up his stats really quick. I want to look at his games played.
What year? From 2010 to, you want me to read him to 2020?
You know what? I got it right here. Hold on a second. Games played, man. This is incredible. All for Chicago. 82, 80, 82, 73, 82, 47. That was a lockout season. 69, 61, 82, 82, 82, 81, 70, 56. That's COVID. 78, 54. Last season it was 54 and 19. So he had 73 games. 73 games.
And
season.
He sat 3 games before. Remember the trade? They didn't want him to get hurt. So yeah, he was healthy.
Right. So he was healthy. So his durability, man, was absolutely incredible. And he put up points during all of these, all of these seasons, dude. And I think that people kind of miss that because you only see like his shootout goals or him dangling somebody, but you don't see the score sheet every single day where it's like Patrick Kane, 1 goal, 2 assists, Patrick Kane, 2 assists, Patrick Kane, 1 assist, Patrick Kane, 2 assists, Patrick Kane, a goal and 2 assists, Patrick Kane, a goal and 3 assists. And, that was pretty much the score sheet, man. And he did that for a decade or longer, actually. So I think it's clear, it's not even close, that he is, I would say, the 3rd best player of 2010.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And the 2010 era, let's not forget, 3 Stanley Cups. And he was an MVP in 2013 in the playoffs. Yeah, it was a lockout season, but the Hawks were just incredible. He had, I think, he had 55 points in 47 games played.
Wow.
He had 2 100-point seasons in the 2010s. Actually, yeah, he had 106 in 2015 and 110 in 2018. I think that was his MVP, right? With the Hart year with Panarin.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, his numbers are very consistent. Pretty much a goal a game type of player, or a point a game. So, the only other guy I would say that is close wasn't Stamkos. Didn't he have really good numbers in the 2010s? I think he started to really light it up.
He did, man, but his problem was his durability.
Yeah, he was getting hurt a lot.
He's almost it's almost as if Stamkos has had two careers. He had the career that he started, and then he was injured for quite a bit, and then he had like his kind of like a resurgent career in a way.
Yeah, because let's not forget, this guy put in 60.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He had let me see here. He went 7. Okay, so he started 08-09, 79 games, 82, 82, 82, 48, 37, 82, 77, 17, 78, 82, 57, 38, 81, 81. So when he's healthy, man, I mean, he'll be out there for 82, which is really impressive. And the last 2 seasons, he's been out there for 81 games
Look
apiece.
at last year. Dude, his numbers, that's incredible.
That's incredible for his age,
team,
yeah.
Like I wouldn't think Steven Stamkos put 84 points up. Even the year before,
yeah, 100 before that.
Really?
Right.
And you only hear about Kucherov and Point. I mean, he quietly is 84 points. Come on, man. How old is he now? He's got to be...
He's 33.
That ain't young for all those injuries in playoff games.
Yeah.
That's very impressive.
Yeah.
I think Stamkos should get his name up in that top 5 for sure, though.
Yeah, I agree. I was just talking about the top 3. Top 5, I mean, we could probably
keep
go
going on, but I think Stamkos...
I mean, what's...
Pretty...
Stammer and Malkin?
Pretty decent, dude. Malkin, Stamkos, yeah. And
but then how about this, man? Where does Taves fit in, dude? He doesn't have the points, but his leadership during those cup runs, dude, were... I mean, he was big time, man. He scored big time goals. He doesn't have a lot, but... I mean, you saw him, man. His performances in those games, he shut down top guys and scored.
His Selke-like play, absolutely. Him and Bergeron were 2 of the best of this era. Bergeron, unfortunately, just retired. It's sad, but they might name it called the Bergeron. I mean, he deserves it, but Taves played the same way, and he was a captain, and he led the charge, 3 cups. Yeah, I think Taser should be a top 10 for sure. I just think, like you said, with the points, they're not. The numbers aren't where they should be, maybe, but definitely top 10.
Let's come up with a top 10 for next week.
Yeah, the next bottom 5. I mean, I can even say the top 3. Obviously, Sid, Ovi. It could go 1 or 2, but I think I like Sid better up there at number 1.
I do too.
Kaner 3.
3 cups.
I got Stamkos. 5,
you know what, man?
And Malkin 4.
If you knew that things were going to play out the way that they did, would you draft Ovechkin before you draft Kane, knowing that he's going to get you 3 cups? They said they have a stat out there saying how much money each team paid for each cup, and the Capitals paid $127 million for 1 Stanley Cup, and the Blackhawks paid $37 million for each cup that Kaner was a part of.
Wow. Yeah, that team was...
Taves too.
Yeah, the 2010 team will always be my favorite team. I think that they...
I love all my children equally.
On some days, but I think 2010, man, to wait that long, the drought, like Cubs fans, they had to wait, and it finally happens. I know they only got 1, but we got 3. But
yeah,
that year was so special for me. Most hot, like diehard fans. Yeah, that and then you look at that roster, like that 4th line could have been a 2nd line on another team. They were that good. They were putting up good numbers, and obviously I like 2013 with Ray Emery in net, going 20-1 during the season. It's freaking incredible. Best backup goalie in Hawks history. 2015, it was a lockout year too. No, it was a full year. The Hawks were just too experienced. It was like running in, like you're on a good team like Tampa. You just run into the Red Wings, type of. Yeah. These guys have just been here so much they don't know how to lose, type of thing. But
and there was no hope.
Ovi's team, which Ovi was good. Oshie was good. Oshie was on that team. They had Nick Backstrom, obviously a stud, but what's his name? Braden Holtby in net, dude, was lights out, and they let him go the next year, which was a huge head scratcher for me.
I couldn't believe it.
I could not believe that.
right, everybody. Let us know who your top 10 are. I'm kind of curious to hear what other people got to say. Get us at Twitter at Chicago Tomahawk, and we'll catch you on the next one. This is the Tomahawk, and we're out of here.